The arrival of doom, the Zelthari Empire had conquered 47 star systems in less than a century. Their war fleets moved through space like storms of steel and fire, crushing every civilization that dared to resist. No species had ever stopped them. No world had ever made them retreat. They believed themselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy, and for generations that belief had never been challenged. Now, as their largest fleet ever assembled glided through the darkness toward a small blue planet called Earth, that confidence burned brighter than the stars around them. Commander Vrakesh stood on the bridge of the flagship Crimson Dominion, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. Behind him stretched a formation of 12,000 warships, each one bristling with weapons that could glass a continent. This fleet alone had ended 3 civilizations in the past decade. Earth would fall in days, perhaps hours. The intelligence reports had been clear. Humanity was a young species, barely 3 centuries into space travel. Their colonies were few and scattered. Their technology was primitive compared to the Zelthari standard. It would be less a battle and more a harvest. Rakesh's tactical officer approached, his movements respectful but casual. The crew felt no tension, no fear. This was routine. "Commander, we have crossed into the outer boundary of their solar system. No defensive satellites detected, no patrol ships. They appear completely unprepared." A ripple of amusement passed through the bridge crew. Rakesh's mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among his kind. Predictable. These humans probably do not even know we are coming. Maintain current speed. We will be in weapons range of their homeworld within 6 cycles. The fleet pressed forward, engines burning in perfect synchronization, thousands of ships moving as one. A wave of destruction that had never been stopped. But as they pushed deeper into the system, something strange began to happen. The sensor technician's console started flickering. At first, it seemed like nothing more than cosmic interference, the kind of background noise that every fleet encountered in deep space. But the readings grew stronger, more focused. The technician leaned closer to his screen, his eyes narrowing. "Commander, I am detecting unusual energy signatures ahead. They do not match any known stellar phenomena." Vrakesh barely glanced at him. "Elaborate. The patterns are too organized to be natural. They pulse at regular intervals like a heartbeat, and the energy density is far beyond anything our scouts reported." The technician's voice carried a note of uncertainty now, the first crack in the crew's confidence. "Perhaps they have deployed some kind of early warning beacon," another officer suggested. "Primitive species often build such things when they know they cannot defend themselves." It means nothing, but Vrakesh was not so quick to dismiss it. He had survived this long by trusting his instincts, and something about this felt wrong. "Send forward scouts. 3 wings. I want visual confirmation of whatever is generating those signals." The order went out immediately. 9 of the fleet's fastest ships broke formation, their sleek forms accelerating ahead of the main armada. Their pilots were veterans, chosen specifically for their skill and courage. They transmitted confident reports as they raced forward, their sensors probing the darkness ahead. Then, one by one, their signals vanished, not degraded, not interrupted, simply gone as if they had never existed. No distress calls, no weapons fire, no debris, just silence. The bridge of the Crimson Dominion fell quiet. Officers exchanged glances, the casual confidence from moments before evaporating like mist. Vrakesh's claws dug into his command throne. What just happened? The sensor technician worked frantically, his hands moving across his console with increasing desperation. "I do not know, Commander." They were transmitting normally, and then all contact ceased simultaneously. No energy spikes, no explosions. They are just gone. "Could it be a sensor malfunction?" someone asked, but the question sounded hollow even as it was spoken. Impossible. 3 separate wings, all using independent systems. They cannot all fail at once. The technician looked up, and for the first time Vrakesh saw fear in his subordinate's eyes. "Commander, the energy readings have intensified. Whatever is out there, it knows we are here." Vrakesh stood, his full height imposing even among his own kind. "All ships, combat formation. Shields to maximum. Charge all primary weapons." His voice carried authority, but inside doubt gnawed at him. In 40 years of conquest, he had never lost scouts without even seeing the enemy. The fleet shifted, 12,000 ships arranging themselves into attack patterns that had crushed dozens of worlds. Their shields shimmered into existence, overlapping fields of energy that could withstand planetary bombardment. Their weapons hummed with contained power, ready to unleash devastation on anything that opposed them. And then they saw it. At first, it appeared as simply an absence of stars, a dark patch in space where light seemed to die. But as the fleet's enhanced sensors focused on the area, details began to emerge. The darkness was not empty space. It was something solid, something vast beyond comprehension. The object began to reveal itself slowly, deliberately. Running lights flickered to life along its surface, tracing lines and patterns across a hull so enormous that the mind struggled to accept its existence. It was not a space station. It was not an asteroid. It was a ship. A single, impossibly massive warship that made their entire fleet look like insects gathered around a sleeping giant. The bridge crew stood frozen, staring at the displays that showed this monstrosity from multiple angles. The ship's hull stretched for kilometers in every direction, its surface covered in armor plating thick enough to build cities on. Weapon emplacements studded its flanks, each one larger than Zelthari battlecruisers. Defensive turrets that could have been mistaken for orbital platforms rotated slowly, tracking the alien fleet with mechanical precision. Along the ship's bow, human symbols glowed with cold blue light. Words in a language the Zelthari had dismissed as primitive and unimportant. But now those words seemed to carry weight, seemed to promise something terrible. Titan class, the sensor technician whispered, reading the designation that repeated across multiple sections of the hull. They call it Titan class. Vrakesh could not speak. His mouth opened, but no words came. He had seen dreadnoughts before, massive capital ships that served as the backbone of imperial fleets. But this was something else entirely. This was not a warship designed to fight other ships. This was a weapon designed to make entire fleets irrelevant. Commander, his tactical officer's voice trembled. Scanning indicates this vessel carries more firepower than our entire armada combined. Its shields are generating enough energy to power a small star system, and its hull composition is unknown to our databases. We have no data on how to damage something like this. The fleet hung in space, motionless despite their combat formation. Not a single ship advanced. Not a single captain dared to give the order to fire. They had come expecting sheep and found a dragon instead. Then, cutting through every communication channel, overriding every frequency the Zelthari fleet used, a voice spoke. It was calm, measured, and carried in perfect Zelthari language that somehow made it more terrifying. This is Terran Defense Command. You have entered protected space with hostile intent. Your forward scouts were disabled and captured. They are alive and unharmed, and will be returned to you when you withdraw. You are now facing the TDS Avalanche, Titan-class defensive platform. This will be your only warning. Turn back now, or we will demonstrate why humanity builds ships of this scale. The transmission ended, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Vrakesh stared at the massive warship, at the weapon emplacements that could probably destroy his flagship with a single shot, at the shield barriers that shimmered with more power than his entire fleet could generate. For the first time in his long career, Commander Vrakesh understood what it meant to be prey. The Zelthari had spent a century hunting the weak, crushing the unprepared. Now they had found something that had been preparing for them, something that had built weapons in the darkness and waited patiently for predators to arrive. His communication officer looked at him, waiting for orders. The entire fleet waited. Should they attack? Should they retreat? Should they call for reinforcements? But Vrakesh knew the truth even if his pride refused to accept it yet. They had not found an easy conquest. They had walked into a trap built by a species that understood war far better than the intelligence report suggested. Humanity had not been cowering in fear of the galaxy. They had been building gods of war and hiding them in the shadows. The Titan-class warship hung in space like a wall between the Zelthari and their objective, silent, patient, waiting to see what the invaders would choose. And in that moment, with 12,000 ships behind him and nowhere to go but forward or back, Vrakesh realized something that chilled him to his core. This was not humanity's only Titan. It could not be. A species did not build something this powerful as a one-time experiment. If they had one, they had more. And if they had more, then the Zelthari Empire had made a catastrophic mistake. They had not invaded a weak species. They had declared war on something far more dangerous than themselves. The choice between pride and survival. The Zelthari fleet remained frozen in formation. 12,000 warships that suddenly felt like 12,000 coffins. Commander Verkesh stood on his bridge, claws gripping the edge of his command console hard enough to leave marks in the metal. Around him, his officers waited in tense silence, their eyes darting between their instruments and the massive human warship that dominated every display screen. Minutes passed like hours. The Titan-class vessel, the Avalanche, made no further moves. It simply existed, a mountain of steel and fury that blocked their path like an ancient guardian. Its weapons remained powered but not aimed, its shields glowing with restrained energy. The message was clear without words. The humans were waiting to see what the invaders would do next. Verkesh's tactical officer broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. "Commander, we must make a decision. The fleet is awaiting orders, a decision, as if there were good options available." Verkesh's mind raced through possibilities, each one ending in disaster. Attack and be destroyed, retreat and face disgrace, negotiate and admit weakness. Every path led to failure, but some were more final than others. "What are our chances in a direct assault?" he asked, though he already knew the answer would bring no comfort. The tactical officer consulted his displays, running calculations that took into account every weapon, every shield generator, every ship in their massive armada. When he looked up, his expression told Verkesh everything. "Based on what we observed with the scout wings and the energy readings we are detecting, our chances of inflicting significant damage are less than 12%. Our chances of survival are considerably lower." Another officer, younger and less experienced, spoke up with desperate hope in his voice. "Perhaps if we concentrate all fire on a single point, overwhelm their shields with sheer volume. Their shields are generating 0.7 exawatts of sustained energy," the sensor technician interrupted. "We would need to focus every weapon we have for 17 minutes of continuous fire, just to deplete one shield section. And that assumes they have no redundant generators, which they certainly do. In that time, their weapon systems could eliminate most of our fleet." The young officer fell silent, his hope crumbling. Around the bridge, Verkesh saw the same realization spreading across every face. They were outmatched. Completely, utterly, impossibly outmatched. But pride was a powerful force, especially for a species that had never known true defeat. Verkesh felt it burning in his chest, warring with the cold logic of survival. The Zelthari Empire did not retreat. The Zelthari Empire did not show fear. For 100 years they had been the terror of the galaxy, and that reputation was built on never backing down, never showing weakness. "Commander," his second-in-command stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Verkesh could hear. "If we return without even attempting to fight, the High Council will execute us for cowardice. Our families will be stripped of honor. Our names will be erased from history." Verkesh knew this was true. The Empire was not forgiving of failure, especially failure born from fear. But as he stared at the Titan-class warship, he wondered if there were fates worse than execution. At least the High Council would kill them quickly. "All fleet commanders," Verkesh spoke into the fleet-wide channel, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. "Prepare for coordinated assault. We will target the human vessel's central sections with everything we have. If we are to die here, we will die as warriors, not cowards cowering in the dark." The response across the fleet was mixed. Some captains acknowledged the order with fierce determination, their pride overriding their survival instincts. Others hesitated, their responses delayed, uncertain. A few ships at the fleet's rear edge began slowly drifting backward, their commanders apparently deciding that survival trumped honor. Verkesh noticed, but said nothing. He could not blame them. In their position, he might make the same choice. The fleet began to organize, thousands of ships adjusting their positions to create optimal firing patterns. Weapon systems that could destroy planets charged to full power, their energy signatures blooming across every sensor. The Zelthari were about to unleash destruction on a scale that had ended civilizations, and then the Avalanche moved. Not quickly, not with any sense of urgency. The massive warship simply rotated slightly, bringing more of its weapon systems to bear on the alien fleet. The movement was smooth, almost lazy, like a predator that had just noticed a mouse trying to look threatening. As it turned, more details became visible on its hull. Entire sections opened, revealing launch bays that could have accommodated Zelthari cruisers. Additional weapon batteries extended from recessed positions, each one adding to the already overwhelming firepower. The sensor technician's voice cracked with barely controlled panic. Commander, their weapons are charging. Energy readings are spiking across their entire hull. They are preparing to fire. This was it. The moment where pride and survival collided. Where Vrakesh had to choose between dying with honor and living with shame. He opened his mouth to give the order to attack. To commit his fleet to a battle they could not win. But before the words could form, the human transmission returned. Zelthari fleet, you are making a mistake. The voice was different this time. Older, carrying weight that suggested someone of high authority. We know your empire's traditions. We understand you believe retreat means dishonor. But consider this. What greater dishonor is there than leading 12,000 crews to pointless death? What honor exists in refusing to recognize when you have been beaten? Vrakesh felt his officers staring at him, waiting to see how he would respond to this. The humans were offering him an escape, but one wrapped in an insult. They were telling him he had already lost, that the battle was decided before it even began. The voice continued, calm and reasonable. Your scouts are alive because we chose not to kill them. Your fleet still exists because we have chosen restraint. Do not mistake mercy for weakness. We have built these ships for one purpose, to ensure that humanity is never again vulnerable to those who would take what is not theirs. You came here expecting easy prey. You found guardians instead. On the displays, the Avalanche's weapon systems glowed brighter. Mathematical projections appeared on Vrakesh's screens, showing firing solutions that would cut through his fleet like a blade through water. The computers were showing him exactly how the humans would destroy them, step by step, ship by ship. We are transmitting tactical data to your flagship now, the human voice said. Study it. See what will happen if you choose to engage. Then make your decision not with pride, but with wisdom. Data flooded into the Crimson Dominion's computers, detailed battle simulations that showed dozens of scenarios. In every single one, the Zelthari fleet was destroyed. The computers ran the numbers again and again, trying to find a path to victory, but none existed. The humans had calculated everything, anticipated every tactic, and demonstrated that they could eliminate the threat without even straining their capabilities. Vrakesh watched the simulations play out, each one showing his ships breaking apart, burning, dying in the cold void. He saw his flagship explode in 17 different scenarios. He saw the carefully maintained formation of his fleet torn to pieces in less than 4 minutes of combat. This was not war. This was execution with extra steps. His communication console lit up with incoming transmissions from his captains. Some demanded they attack immediately, their pride unable to accept the situation. Others pleaded for withdrawal, their survival instincts overriding military discipline. The fleet was fragmenting before his eyes, unity dissolving as each commander faced their own internal battle between honor and fear. Then Vrakesh noticed something in the tactical data the humans had sent. Among the battle simulations was another file, one that showed something different. It showed the Zelthari fleet turning away, withdrawing from the system, and the Avalanche simply watching them go. In this simulation, every ship survived. Every crew member returned home. The only casualty was pride. The human was giving him a way out that he could present to the High Council. The humans had sent battle data proving they were superior. That was not cowardice in the face of the enemy. That was strategic wisdom when confronted with overwhelming force. Even the High Council, as brutal as they were, would have trouble executing commanders who retreated after being shown mathematical proof that victory was impossible. Commander Vrakesh, the human voice spoke directly to him now, using his name. You have a choice to make. You can throw your warriors against our defenses and achieve nothing except mass death. Or you can return to your empire and tell them what you found here. Tell them that humanity is not the easy target they believed. Tell them that we have prepared for this day, and we are ready for anything they send against us. The voice paused, and when it continued, there was something almost respectful in its tone. You are not a coward, Commander. You are a survivor. And survivors understand that some battles cannot be won, only avoided. There is no shame in recognizing superior force and choosing to preserve the lives under your command. Your empire may punish you, but your crews will live. Their families will not mourn. Is that not worth more than pride? Vrakesh closed his eyes, his four hands clenching into fists. Every instinct screamed at him to fight, to prove that the Zelthari could not be intimidated, to show the galaxy that his species bowed to no one. But beneath that instinct was something quieter, something he had learned through decades of war. Dead warriors won no glory, and extinct species had no pride to salvage. He opened his eyes and looked at his crew. Young officers barely into their careers, veterans who had families waiting at home, technicians and engineers who had never asked to be part of this invasion. Thousands of lives rested on his next words. "Signal the fleet," Rakesh said, his voice heavy with the weight of decision. "All ships prepare for withdrawal. We are leaving this system." The bridge erupted in mixed reactions. Some officers looked relieved, their bodies sagging as tension drained away. Others appeared shocked, unable to believe their commander had just ordered retreat. A few looked angry, betrayed by what they saw as cowardice. Rakesh's second-in-command stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. "Commander, you cannot be serious. The High Council will receive a full report including the tactical data the humans provided." Rakesh cut him off. "They will see what we faced. They will understand that attacking would have been suicide, not bravery. And if they still choose to punish me, then that is a consequence I will accept. But I will not lead 12,000 crews to their deaths for the sake of pride." He turned to face the massive view screen showing the Avalanche, the human Titan-class warship that had destroyed the Zelthari's reputation of invincibility. Without firing a single shot in anger, transmit to the human vessel. "Tell them we are withdrawing. Ask them to return our scouts as promised." The communication went out, and for a long moment nothing happened. The Avalanche remained motionless, its weapons still charged, still ready to unleash devastation. Then slowly, deliberately, its weapon systems powered down. The glowing energy that had promised to death faded to dim standby mode. "Zelthari fleet, your decision is wise," the human voice responded. "Your scouts will be released at the edge of the system in medical pods. They are unharmed and will provide testimony to what they witnessed here. Return to your empire, Commander Rakesh. Tell your leaders what you found, and tell them that humanity offers peace to those who come in peace. But we will show no mercy to those who come with conquest in their hearts." On the view screen, the Avalanche began to rotate away, presenting its side to the Zelthari fleet. It was a gesture of dismissal, showing that the humans no longer considered them a threat. Along the massive hull, hangar bays opened and small craft emerged, carrying what must be the captured scouts. The Zelthari fleet began its turn, thousands of ships slowly reversing course. It was not a dignified retreat, not a tactical withdrawal. It was simply leaving, backing away from something they could not defeat. Ships that had entered the system in perfect formation now scattered as they fled, each captain eager to put distance between themselves and the human weapon. Rakesh watched as Earth's solar system slowly shrank on his displays. The Avalanche remained visible for a long time, even as they accelerated away, a dark shape against the stars that seemed to watch them go. He wondered how many more of these Titan-class vessels humanity had built. He wondered what other surprises waited in the shadows of Earth's defenses, but mostly, he wondered if the Zelthari Empire would learn from this, or if pride would drive them to return with even more ships, seeking to overwhelm what could not be outfought. And if they did return, Rakesh knew with absolute certainty that the humans would be ready, that they would unveil even greater weapons, even more terrible defenses. As the fleet limped home, carrying a defeat without casualties but also without honor, Rakesh understood something profound. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had announced itself not as victims waiting to be conquered, but as guardians who had prepared for war and chosen peace. The Zelthari had spent a century believing they were apex predators. In one encounter, without a single shot fired, humanity had shown them they were not, and that lesson, carried back to the Empire by 12,000 witnesses, would reshape everything the Zelthari thought they knew about their place in the universe. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had seen to that.